Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday, coming to you from bustling Spanish Fork, Utah. We're taking another day for this key verse here from the first canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's called Evam Prashana Manasa. Good morning, Govinda Dev. Good morning, Thomas. Haribol, please accept my obeisances. First of all, offer our respects to the disciplic succession. Sundari Priya, good morning. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Om Ganati Miranda Sya Gana Gana Sadakya Chaksurun Militam. Yena Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutare. Swayam Rupakaramayam Darati Swapadantikam. Vande Ham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sogatatam Sahagana Doganatam Vitam Samsadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pariyajana Sayitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Stha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tenomane. Namaste Saraswati Deva Guruvani Pacharine. Nirvashesa Sanyori Paskata Desarani. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Basari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chevarotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tito Jayodhya Nishta Prayashu Badrisu Nityam Bhagavata Seveha Bhagavatiya Tamashuki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Nikamavkopa Turu Garitam Padam Shukamakadam Rita Dervisamitam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamanayam Mohora Hora Sigupuvi Babukaham. So welcome everyone. Jimmy, Hare Krishna. Daniel, welcome. Hare Krishna Daniel. Jana, yes. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, Jana. Joe, Anjali, always a pleasure. Wisdom Wednesday. Bill, yes. Joe, yeah, I mentioned Joe. Sundari Priya, Thomas, Govinda Dev. Right, we had so much fun with this verse yesterday. We're coming back to it. It's 20th verse, second chapter, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam Prashana Manasho Bhagavad Bhakti Yogitaham. Bhagavad Tattva Vigyanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of God in the stage of liberation from all material association. And this is a part of the purport that we did not get to yesterday. The Bhaktivedanta purport. In the material stage, when a Brahman is also a conditioned soul, because although in the Brahminical stage, the conception of Brahman or transcendence is realized, scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord is lacking. One has to surpass the Brahminical stage and reach the Vasudeva stage to understand the personality of Godhead Krishna. The science of the personality of Godhead is a subject matter for study for the postgraduate students in the spiritual line. Foolish men or men with a poor fund of knowledge do not understand the Supreme Lord, and they interpret Krishna according to their respective whims. The fact is, however, that one cannot understand the science of the personality of Godhead unless one is freed from the contamination of the material modes, even up to the stage of a Brahman. When a qualified Brahman actually becomes a Vaishnava, in the enlivened state of liberation, he can know what is actually the personality of Godhead. A Vaishnava knows nothing but Krishna. He's free from duality. Everywhere he turns, he sees Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Ekala, Ishvara, Krishna, Ada, Sabda, Brita. There's one supreme Ishvara, there's one supreme controller. His name is Krishna. Krishna means all attractive, the source of wealth, beauty, strength, fame, knowledge, and humility. Ada, Sabda, Brita. Everybody else, even Lord Shiva, Ganesh, Lord Brahma, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Indra, they're all servants. Therefore, the ultimate shelter, the source from which we come, and our ultimate shelter or resting place is none other than Krishna. We proceed from him. We are supported and maintained by him during our sojourn in this material world. And when we finally come to our senses and remember him, then we go back to him and we take shelter of him. Savai Mana Krishna Parara Vindaya. Just as Ambarish Maharaj, although he's a great king, very powerful in the material estimation, he uses his senses always, and he uses his hands to sweep the floor of the temple room and his feet to do parikrama around the temple, and his mouth to chant the holy names of the Lord, his ears to hear. Even though he was a king, a lord of men, he submitted himself before his Lord and our common Lord, Krishna, by engaging all of his senses in that service of the Lord. That's the perfection of life, is to be always engaged in your senses in the service of the Lord. And when one is engaged in the service of the Lord, even though he may have faults or shortcomings, even though he may have a few bad habits which linger as a result of his previous life, still that is a liberated person, someone who's engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. Prabhupada used to say, all my disciples are liberated. However, he did make a distinction between himself and his disciples. He said that the difference between my liberated disciples and myself as a liberated soul is that they can fall down, I cannot. So what we learn from this is that as long as we're serving the Lord, as long as we're doing japa, offering our prasadam, honoring prasadam, cleaning the temple, making flower garlands, doing the deity worship, observing festivals, explaining Krishna consciousness, we're on the liberated platform. But the difference between us and a pure devotee is that the pure devotee never falls. He never takes a break. He never feels entitled that I've done so much service for the Lord, now I'm going to kick back, you see, and follow some diversionary activities. For a pure devotee of the Lord, more service to the Lord is all the diversion he needs from having done service. So he doesn't say to himself, well, I've served the Lord for 8 straight hours, now I'm going to do something else. No, pure devotee says, I've served the Lord for 8 straight hours, and due to the mercy of the Lord, I get to serve him for another 8 hours. That's his reward. His reward for serving for 8 hours is to serve the Lord for another 8 hours, and so on and so forth. With this kind of thinking, he never comes down. And our biggest stumbling block, I think, is this sense of entitlement, that I've done so much for the Lord, now the Lord owes me some downtime. Tell me if I'm wrong, if we examine our own individual psychologies. So Prabhupada said, I cannot fall down, but you cannot. Nevertheless, anybody who's engaged in serving the Lord, at least while they're engaged in that service, they're on the eternal platform. So the trick is to parlay that into more service, and parlay that into more service, and parlay that into more service. And at that point in time where you never come back down, where you sublimate your feeling of entitlement, that if you do feel entitled for having done some service, then that translates into, oh good, I'm blessed, I get to do more service. That's the liberated eternally, that's the platform of Achyuta. One never falls down. And so anybody who's engaged in service is considered liberated. And the trick is just continue that. In that service of the Lord, one cannot but help feel peaceful. The senses are pacified. Otherwise, using the senses to serve our own whimsical, self-centered, capricious desires, the senses are like poisonous snakes. They're biting us with their venom all the time. But when you use those same senses for serving the Lord, there's nothing more to fear from those senses. They may be snakes, but they're defanged. They have no more poison within their fangs. So the result of devotional service is that one becomes sheltered, protected, one has no more worries, no more anxieties. This is described in the Bhagavad Gita, first verse of the 7th chapter, Maya Sakta Manaparta, Yogam Yunyan Madasraya. Yoga means to link with the Lord, and Madasraya means to take full shelter. Krishna is saying that those who are in union with me, those who are sheltered under my protection, asamsam samagram mam, they know me, as Prabhupada said in the report, scientifically. Asamsam. Samsam means doubt. Put an A in front of something in Sanskrit and negates it. So asamsam samagram mam means without any doubt. Yata jignashashi tachnu. And how did they get that way? Yata jignashashi tachnu. By inquiries and receiving the answers from a practicing pure devotee of the Lord. The exact translation is, Krishna says to Arjuna, now hear, Tachnu, O Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. To the degree that we become attached to Krishna, to that degree he gives us this sheltering protection. I heard a story about a huge fire that took place in Yellowstone in the 70s. Thousands and thousands of acres were destroyed, and the forest rangers were sort of sifting through the ashes, wandering here and there. And they came upon a bird, a mature female bird, down on the ground, who had been immolated by the fire and was kind of like a statue. The fire had caught up, gone so fast, and she hadn't been able to outrun it, obviously, and it had petrified her. And they thought, well, why did she try to outrun the fire? Birds aren't good at running, but she could have easily outflown the fire. And as I stood looking at this bird and musing, out from underneath the wings of this bird came little chicklets. And then they got their answer. That due to maternal affection, she stayed down on the ground, sacrificed her life, and by spreading her wings and those little chicks having taken shelter, you see, mad asraya, under her wings, she was able to cover them with her wings and insulate them enough that while she was burned, they survived. Similarly, Krishna is canvassing. My wings are more than adequate to protect you. What we need to do is just move in our decisions, in our choices, in our lifestyle. We need to move under the shelter of the Lord. And most of us aren't interested in doing that. We want to do what we want to do. If we get in trouble, of course, we'll call the Lord in to help us out. But then when the trouble goes away, we'll say, Lord, thank you. We'll see you later. I'll call you next time I get into hot water. But we really don't want the Lord intimately involved in our lives, nor do we want to get close enough to the Lord to shelter under his protective wings. And that is basically the source of all of our sufferings and all of our problems and all of our anxiety in this material world. Arjuna reached a point also thousands of years ago. He'd been intimately connected with Krishna. Although Krishna's home base was Dwarka, he spent more time in Hastinapur, Kandapur, Indraprastha with the Pandavas than he did in his own city, Dwarka, because of his attraction. Saratya Parashara Sevana Sokya Dotya Virashagavam Shnignishu Pandashu Jigat Pranatim to Vishnu. Being attracted by the surrender of the Pandavas, Lord Krishna came, he acted as Arjuna's chariot driver, he acted as their messenger, he was their cousin, he was their order carrier. And all this was made possible by the unique and exceptional devotion and surrender and shelter which the Pandavas had taken at the lotus feet of Krishna. However, after the departure of Krishna, Arjuna had gone to Dwarka to escort Krishna's queens to safety back into Hastinapur. But on the way, apparently, on the surface of it, he was attacked by some ordinary thugs, and the queens were kidnapped. Then he sort of lapsed from his staunch Krishna consciousness. He began to become self-absorbed. What's the matter with me? Why have I lost my strength? With my bow, Gandhiva, I conquered the demigods. I even went underneath the water and conquered single-handedly the whole race of Danavas. When Duryodhana stole Maharashvrata's cattle, with Uttara as my chariot driver, I put the whole Kaurava army, including Bhisma and Karnanos, to sleep and got the cattle back single-handedly. So what happened to me? Why have I lost my power? You see, there was, in Arjuna's mind, due to excessive grief and self-doubt, he sort of reverted. And again, everything Arjuna does teaches us. He's acting that way for our benefit. And so he's sort of created a bit of duality there in his thinking in the physical absence of Krishna. And then he stopped himself, he got a hold of himself, and he began to run the instructions of Krishna through his mind. And immediately taking shelter of Krishna, even though Krishna wasn't physically present, just by virtue of taking shelter, Krishna Todiya Pada Pankaja, his mind delved into thoughts of Krishna, just like the swan delves into the stem of the lotus flower in order to get nectar. As soon as Arjuna began to recall the reassuring words that I will never abandon you, I will always be with you, I am in your heart, on and on and on and on. Sipram bhavati dharma sacham kontiya pratijanati nami bhaktapani. Krishna had told Arjuna, tell the people boldly that my devotee will never perish. So Arjuna is the one that was broadcasting Krishna's message that his devotee will never perish. So then when Arjuna remembered that, then he got relief. He was pacified. Desha kalarta yuktani. Kalarta yuktani. If you stay in Krishna consciousness, never mind, Krishna is not standing before you. He is standing before you, but in a subtle form. He's within every atom. He's within the hearts of all living beings. It's impossible not to be in Krishna. You can be out of Krishna consciousness, but mayatadamidam sarvam jigata mortina. In an unmanifested form, Krishna pervades and supports the entire material and spiritual creations. So you can fall out of Krishna consciousness, but you can't fall out of Krishna. And therefore, Arjuna, reviving his consciousness of Krishna, notes, Desharta Kala Yuktani, all place, all times, all circumstances. It is very easy to be connected, Yukta, Krishna, just by chanting his holy names and remembering his words of the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Desha Kalata Yuktani, Ritalpa Vishamani Cha, Harati Shmaratas Chitam. Now, Shmaratas means to remember Krishna, and Chitam is the heart. The heart immediately gets relief. It gets cooled from the burning anxieties from this forest fire of the material world. Govinda Bihitani Cha. Now I am attracted by those instructions imparted to me by the personality of Godhead, because they are impregnated with instructions for relieving the burning heart in all circumstances of time and space. And in his commentary to this utterance of Arjuna, Sutta Goswami says, thus being deeply absorbed in thinking of the instructions of the Lord, which were imparted in the great intimacy of friendship, and in thinking of his lotus feet, Arjuna's mind became pacified and free from all material contamination. It is also said that Arjuna's thoughts returned to their original color. Interesting. Think about that for a moment. The color of passion, of intense, competitive, envious thinking, achieving things with great effort, is red. And the color of ignorance, lethargy, illusion, madness, intoxication is a dark color. But the color of goodness and pure goodness is white. So imagine after the waves of red and darkness were knocking at the door of Arjuna's consciousness, that as soon as he started beginning to think of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he got back into his true white, spiritual, glowing, effulgent color, and the influence of red passion, dark ignorance dissipated. It's further said that the trash in all of Arjuna's thoughts subsided. So what was that trash? Well, we don't have to describe it intimately and revulsively and disgustingly. Who wants to describe individual pieces of trash? But basically it can all be summed up in saying anything that sees yourself as separate from Krishna is trash. We don't have to list all the details. Whenever you see yourself as not protected, as not created, as not maintained, as not supported by Krishna, any of those subsequent thoughts are trash. And so as soon as Arjuna began to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he got rid of all the trash, got rid of the influence of passion, ignorance, and came back to his true color. Here's another statement by Sudha Goswami about how we get into a trashy situation. This is in the second canto, second chapter, third verse. Ata kavir namashu yavarar tat siddha apramato vyavashaya budhe siddhe nyatarta nyetra tata parisharam tatra shamiksamana. When one gets distracted by the world of names, this is a house, this is a city, this is a road, this is a Subaru, this is a Macintosh, this is a Seiko, this is my wife, these are my children, this is my country. When you think about it, it's really just the energy of the Lord. Parasya Shaktir Vivudaya Vasuryate. Earth, air, fire, water, mind, intelligence, and false ego. In the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhumir Apo Nalo Vayu Kam Manoru Buddha Eva Cha. Earth, air, fire, water, mind, intelligence, false ego. And then Aparayamitas Tuanyam. Above these material elements are the individual spirit souls. And then Uttama Purushas Tuanya. Above the individual jivas is the Supreme Personality of Godhead called Purush Uttama. That Lord who is above all darkness. That's all there is. You know, anything else is just a temporary manifestation. Anything else is just basically a name. It's a phantasmagoria. Therefore, we're advised to be intelligently fixed in reality and never endeavor for ephemeral, unwanted things. The soul doesn't need any combination of earth, air, fire, water, mind, intelligence, and false ego. None of that is going to sustain or nourish the soul. Certainly not going to take the soul back to home, back where he needs to go. You open the classified section, the Thrifty Nickel, or the Penny Saver, or the classified section of the Salt Lake Tribune, or the Idaho Statesman, and you see all the things which are for sale. And you start thinking, wow, it'd be nice to have one of those, or that's a good price on a secondhand car, or gee whiz, you know, I should get an ATV, you know, everybody else has one. All you're doing is being deluded by the world of names. And you need to catch yourself, because you're going to have to spend valuable time and energy. Every moment of the human form of life is so valuable, you cannot purchase it back. You cannot rewind the clock even 1 second. So oftentimes, on a whim, without being intelligently fixed, we devote whole seasons of our lives to working in order to earn some money, to get some illusion, some dream-like so-called possession, which has nothing to do with the spirit soul. Therefore, we're enjoined to be intelligently fixed, never endeavor for unwanted external things, and be competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors for temporary things are merely laboring hard for nothing. One is, in the devotional line, has no interest in creating a situation which has nothing to do with reality, being caught up in a world of names which have no more significance than the babble of sea waves. Prabhupada says here, the great kings, leaders, soldiers fight with one another in order to perpetuate their names in history. They are, however, forgotten in due course of time, and they make a place for another era in history. That reminds me of a poem by Shelley. If you give me permission to recite it, hit some hearts there. Let me see some hearts come up, and you'll inspire me to wax poetic after the ways of Lord Pierce Shelley, can you do that? Hit some hearts. There we go. There's a couple coming up here. Okay. You know what I'll do? Every time you do that, it would go higher in the Facebook algorithm and increase the chances of other people are just browsing, scrolling to come upon us. So you guys, yeah. Okay, you've convinced me. Here it is. About all those who strive for name and fame and how useless it is. Shelley wrote, I met a traveler from an antique land who said to vast and trunkless legs of stone stand half sunk in the desert. Beside them a shattered visage lies, whose sneer and wrinkled lip and frown of cold command tell that well the sculpture those passions red which yet survive stamped on those lifeless things the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. On the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. The devotees don't get sucked into that trap of worldly aggrandizement. Devotees realize how much history and historical persons are useless products of flickering time. Fruitive workers, as opposed to devotees, aspire after a big fortune in the matters of wealth, women, and worldly adoration. But those who are fixed in perfect reality are not at all interested in such false things. For them it is a waste of time. Jivasya tattva jignasya. Having achieved the rare and valuable human form of life, those who are aware of reality accept only the bare necessities of life. They work only for subsistence, to keep body and soul together, depending upon God's natural gifts. They're not so interested in industrial products and factories and smokestacks, but they depend upon fruits, grains, vegetables, milk products, jewels, and gold, which are naturally found without excessive endeavor. And what that does is it saves the valuable human energy from being diverted for unreality. It saves the valuable human energy from becoming feverish and mad after material enjoyment. Prabhupada says, the attitude of a devotee is to make the best use of a bad bargain. We're spirit, so this material world is a bad bargain. We're eternal, and so endeavoring for any temporary acquisition is a bad bargain. Well, we make the best of the bad bargain by saving our time and energy for discussing the topics about Krishna, for honoring prasadam and associating with devotees. For transcendentalists, it is a suicidal policy to be intimately connected, in touch with the sense gratifiers of this world. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Lava Mata Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hai. All the scriptures say that one should aspire for the association of sadhus. And if one's prayers get answered, that you get the association of sadhus, even momentarily, it is said that your life is perfect. Otherwise, to hang out with deadbeat materialists who are trying to enjoy the dead shroud of affection in this material world is a policy which will frustrate the ultimate goal of life. Here's something to meditate upon. While Maharaj Parikshit was a king, while he was wearing an expensive robe and a valuable crown, while he was sitting on his throne, while he was protected by bodyguards and had his wives and children at hand and his subjects, Sukadeva Goswami wouldn't have gone within a mile of him. 10 miles of him. It was only after Yashahama, God showed special mercy and took away all these trappings of material opulence, cursed to die within 7 days by the bite of a snake bird, took off all his robe, his crowns, descended from his throne, and went to the bank of the Ganges to sit and fast, not even eating and drinking until the time of his death, 7 days henceforward. In that state of consciousness, Sukadeva Goswami arrived for the darshan of Maharaj Parikshit. Otherwise, he had no interest prior to that. Advancement of human civilization must be towards the goal of advancing our lost relationship with God, which is not possible in any other form of life than the human. So one must realize what Prabhupada calls the nullity of the material phenomenon, considering a passing phantasmagoria, and must endeavor to make a permanent solution to the miseries of life. I'm reminded of another poem. Whether you hit the love little heart things or not, I'll still share it with you. You don't have to do that a second time during our session together. I'll share it with you. This is what Shakespeare had to say about You're a great bunch, I'll tell you. We have a lot of fun together on Wisdom Wednesday. Here's what Shakespeare says about material revels, okay? The phantasmagoria of material so-called enjoyment. This is from The Tempest, Act 4, Scene 1. Our revels now are ended. These are actors, as I foretold you, are all insubstantial and are melted into air, thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, what prose? Nobody's like Shakespeare, is it? The cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherits shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are, our material bodies are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Indeed, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says also, 15th verse, 8th chapter, Mamupecha Pranarjanma Duk Alayam Asashvatam. Krishna certifies this material world as a sashvatam, temporary, ephemeral, wispy, insubstantial, and in spite of the fact that it's described in all those with all those aforementioned adjectives, it still manages to inflict a lot of pain and a lot of misery on us. So it is not only temporary and insubstantial, it's not only a phantasmagoria, but it's one going through which we feel a lot of misery, some or other due to the attachment of the soul with this body. Because of that connection, we feel suffering and we feel misery unnecessarily. However, when we get extraction through devotional service, by remembering the sheltering protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we can go back to our spiritual consciousness, back home, back to Godhead. Having returned home, it is said, Napnuvanti Mahatmana Samsiddhim Paramam Gatim. Having attained the ultimate perfection of absorption in Krishna consciousness, one never falls back, one never backslides, one never reverts to material consciousness. After attaining me, the Mahatmas, the great souls who are yogis in devotion, never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they've attained the highest perfection. We started this discussion on this verse yesterday on Transcendental Tuesday, and we're winding up, concluding here on Wisdom Wednesday. We started with the example of Paranjana, and if you'll remember, he was out hunting, perspiring, full of anxiety, tired, hungry. So many miseries were besetting him. This is all an allegory. And so then, but when he returned home to the palace, he got a bath, he got cleaned up, he got a meal, he took rest, his wives were there. So this was an allegory to indicate to us that we need to stop mucking around in this material world of birth, death, disease, and old age. This phantasmagorical, temporary world which is full of miseries. We need to click into ultimate reality. Krishna's asking us, come home, back to Godhead. He's opening his arms and asking us to come under his sheltering wings. He's asking us to come within his embrace. And in order to do that, our part is quite simple. Manmana, Baba Madbhakta, Madhyage Mam Namaskaru. A 4-part program to solve all the problems of life. A 4-part program to solve the 4 miseries of birth, death, disease, and old age. Manmana, think of me. Madbhakta, become my devotee. Madhyagi, worship me. Mam Namaskaru, offer your obeisances. Anything particularly difficult there? There's nothing more pleasurable to the mind. As soon as Arjuna began to think of Krishna, he forgot his defeat by the thugs. He forgot his despondency. He forgot his depression. He forgot his suicidal tendencies. And he says, Hritabashamanicha, his heart swelled in love and affection and purposefulness. So you can have that same experience just by thinking of Krishna, becoming his devotee. I remember the first time I walked into a temple in 1970 in Potts Point, just a rented little building there, the incense, the flowers, the atmosphere of devotion, the music, and the smell of prasadam being cooked in the kitchen, the spices. It was, I felt like I'm home. I'm home. And I wish that for you also. Think of him, become his devotee, worship him, and offer your obeisances to him. When you're standing upright, you're saying, I'm going to do it my way. I want to be independent. I'm my own man. But when you bow down, you're taking shelter. The Lord's lotus feet are our origin and our ultimate resting place. When you're bowed down at the lotus feet of the Lord, you're sheltering in his protection, under his wings. You're buffered from the blazing, scorching fire of this material world. So my wish for you is, you owe it to yourself, to your family members, and to those for whom you have concern, to bow down, get the cooling effect of the sheltering protection of the wings of the Lord. He's not withholding it from you. He's standing there. We have, now is a season in the temple here when peacock babies are born. The peahens have sat on their eggs for 6 or 8 weeks, and the babies are hatching, and they're not at all equipped to protect or fend for themselves. Just little tiny baby chicks. There are many predators also that would like to have them as a morsel. And particularly after dark is when cats and mongooses, or not mongooses, but weasels, we have weasels around here. Raccoons love to eat baby birds. They all come out at night. And so what the mother does is, she's capable of jumping high up on the roof out of danger, but her babies are not capable of doing that. She may jump up on the railing of the porch, which is about a 3 or 4 foot jump, which gives her a measure of distance from the predators that range around the ground. But her firstborn chick can't do that. So she, at least until the chick can jump up 3 feet onto the railing, she stays on the ground at great personal risk. And I see it. I'm actually in the basement, and my window here looks right out on the ground level. And one of the peacock mothers, just at dusk, just as the shadows are coming and the sun is going down, she comes right over here And I see her. She opens her wings. She's got 2 little chicks. And they go in, and she lowers her wings and shelters them during the dangerous, dark hours. Krishna is offering, he's extending his protection to us, and one could only be a fool to not be interested or not take advantage of that. Prabhupada says here, one should therefore adjust the activities of life in pace with the mission of the Lord, and by doing this, one is sure to return back home, back to Godhead. That is the highest perfection of life. Well, thank you, Govinda, Thomas, Sundari Priya, Jimmy, Anjali. Thanks, Wisdom Wednesday. Daniel, so delighted to have you with us. Joe, Bill, Jana, Christine is watching from the distant place of Spanish Fork, Utah. Mitravinda, nice to have you with us. Are you typing anything? Are you typing any pithy sayings? Rupa Manjari, yes, she is. I love Mitravinda's transcriptions. Jai Krishna, if you're listening, we need you back on Sundays. We need you back. Your nectarine kirtans. Glenn Avery, Glenn, thanks so much. John Malik, Haribo. Manasa Ganga, Prashant. Who else? Yeah. David, Radhe Sham, Nate, Hare Krishna Nate, Ananta, all the way from Australia, Gopal Ananda, Yogi and Pragna, hope you're keeping safe. Thank you so much. Katie Wise, wow, or Kirtania, Kirtan Mama from Boulder, Colorado. Katie, we're still scheduled for September 19th and 20th in Spanish Fork for the Festival of Colors, and Ogden is rescheduled for September 12th. So I can't say 100%, but I hope you're still available, because you know, if there are mass gatherings by then, we want you. We want you to come. And Jai Krishna also, Ananda Guru, Celia, good morning, Donnie. Gosh, so many people I may not even be able to say good morning to you. Mahatma. So in case you're unaware of it, these have been dubbed as Wisdom Wednesdays, preceded by Transcendental Tuesdays, and we begin each week with a Motivational Monday. So that concludes our 3-part series for this week. We'll be back next Monday with the 21st verse, 2nd chapter, 1st canto. On Saturday night, we'll also be up at 7 o'clock with the motivational talk. Sunday at 5:15. Sunday afternoon, we have our Krishna Light Show. And we also have Sadhu Sang, a Zoom call, every Sunday at 11 o'clock with all the congregational members from Salt Lake City. But anybody's welcome. If you want to get the Zoom ID number and the password, we'll be glad to give it to you. All right. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's so delightful for me to have the opportunity to spend time, get the Sadhu Sang from you all these 3 mornings per week. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.